real, logical economic policy. But the issue of due process, no, these are the and when we had a town hall the other night, this is the issue.
All right,
and the economy.
Take a breath, said Ingraham.
All right,
and the economy is a mess.
What an obnoxious witch. Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. Fox News host Laura Ingraham generally doesn't like having smart Democratic guests on her program. And that's because Ingraham tends to lose control and look awful. Case in point, Ingraham just got trounced by Democratic Congressman Yasemin Ansari of Arizona.
Right now, we are worried about the constitutional crisis.
Right. Oh, the Constitution?
We are worried about the constitutional crisis and the lack of this president following the Supreme Court. I'm sure you believe in the Supreme Court and you believe in the rule of law in this country.
The debate centered on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was deported out of the United States without due process and then jailed in El Salvador. Several Democrats, including Ansari, have drawn attention to the case by traveling to El Salvador. And to be fair, Ingraham started the interview calmly with this.
What process do you think is still due an individual who two courts found had reasonable belief to believe he had an affiliation with MS-13, who his wife initially said had scratched her and caused a bruising on her body? What process would make you feel like the Constitution and our framers' understanding of it would be fulfilled?
So, Laura, you and I can disagree on, this individual in particular. I'm not here to really advocate for one person. That needs to happen in court. No evidence has actually ever been presented.
You went to El Salvador. Now you're saying it's not about him? Of course it's about him.
Due process.
You went to El Salvador for a political stunt, and now you're saying it's not about him.
It is about this case. Laura, it is about the rule of law. This is a bipartisan issue. It transcends partisan politics. That's why a conservative-leaning Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump must facilitate the return of this individual. This is very dangerous. We are turning into an authoritarian country, and there are Americans from all across the political spectrum who are deeply concerned about this.
And with that, Ingraham seemed to realize that she was not going to be able to dominate her guest and that this was not going to be an easy pushover interview. Ansari was firm, matter of fact, and persuasive.
My office has not received more calls about any other issue since I have been a congresswoman than this one, tariffs being the second one, and the lack of real, logical economic policy. But the issue of due process, no, these are the and when we had a town hall the other night, this is the issue.
All right,
and the economy.
Take a breath, said Ingraham.
All right,
and the economy is a mess.
What an obnoxious witch.
Right.
And when an interviewer is that nasty, you know the interviewer is losing. Ingraham did what many Fox hosts do when they are getting humiliated. She changed the subject.
An illegal alien from Guatemala was just charged with his girlfriend's murder in Maryland, same state, of course, Mr. Abrego Garcia is from. She was missing for 2 weeks, mother of 2 young kids. Police found her buried in a forest. Do you know about this story? Do your constituents care about those victims? And do you intend on calling that family, since Maryland residents are obviously a concern in some way, shape, or form for you and all the people of your state?
I am appalled by any violence that takes place in this country. As a former city official, I have a very strong pro-public safety record, and that's why I believe in the rule of law, and that's why this case is so important. I think these questions are a distraction from the main issue, which is that Donald Trump is defying the Supreme Court of the United States, and every American should be concerned about this.
Ansari called out what Ingraham was doing with a distraction, or as we said, Ingram's effort to change the subject. And Ingraham then tried another flimsy tactic. The Fox host tried to use the Congresswoman's clear decency and likability against her. Again, Congresswoman Ansari had just noted that Ingraham was engaged in a distraction.
Congresswoman, I know you can't mean that, and I'm not trying to play gotcha here. I know you don't mean that American citizens are distractions.
No,
their victims aren't distractions.
You are changing the subject. Today we are here to talk about the lack of due process for an individual who was illegally deported from this country. That is the subject of this interview. Any other act of violence.
But Congresswoman, I've given you, just so everyone understands. Yeah, well, the violence committed by illegal immigrants against innocent Americans and legal immigrants has been appalling.
It is devastating.
Absolutely appalling.
Any violence,
and I wish there was one moment where
anyone
Democrats acted like they cared about that.
And a lot of Democrats wish there was one moment when a Trumpster or a conservative host on Fox actually cared about basic facts and the truth. And the truth, according to the federal government's own crime statistics, is that undocumented migrants have a lower violent crime rate than people who were born in the United States. Migrant communities are safer. Now, we can still care about all acts of violence, as Congresswoman Ansari articulated, but that's besides the point of this interview. The U.S. Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return to the United States. The Trump White House has refused to do anything. Laura Ingraham is defending the Trump White House and is getting shamed live on her own television program.
I know this is the progressive way of dealing with interviews where you just, I'm not trying to talk over you. I'm actually trying to get a question answered. I asked you a simple question. What process is due Mr. Abrego Garcia in the United States that you believe he has not received or could receive if he's undeported, which is the Democrats' priority, undeport him, bring him back here? What process do you want him to receive that would make you happy and feel good? Could he ever be deported?
It's very clear. The Supreme Court says return him, and in court we can have a discussion about what action should be taken.
No.
This administration admitted they made a mistake.
He doesn't matter to you.
Laura Ingraham doesn't know if Mr. Garcia matters to the Congresswoman. Ingram's assertion and her nervous laughter are more signs that Ingraham seems to know she just lost this debate and got embarrassed on her own show. I have a feeling that the real fireworks came after the program, when Ingraham may have wondered to her producers why they didn't do a better job of preparing her for Congresswoman Ansari. Sometimes the Fox host gets so used to only having Democratic dopes on as guests that the Fox hosts get lazy. In any case, Laura Ingraham is no dummy, and even she must realize that in this interview, Laura Ingraham got shredded, and it was Ingraham who flailed, lost her cool, and came across as detestable. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.